equation of the line is one of the key concepts of college algebra, and one of the most important components of that is discussion of the slope. And so I'm going to look at the slope today and show you what that is. So the way we can define the slope of the line is simply a rate of change. As I'm going to the right in the x direction, how far or how quickly am I going up in the y direction? And so we can illustrate that mathematically like this. I'm going to make another point in my plane here, and this point is a point that goes, if I go straight up, I hit x2, y2, and if I go directly to the left, I hit x1, y1, and so make a triangle. And so I can see here that I have a distance going left to right of x2 minus x1. That's how long this first side of the triangle is, and the second one is y2 minus y1. If I'm talking about slope as a rate of change, and I'm talking about that as being the ratio of how quickly am I going up and down versus how quickly am I going left and right, this helps us find the slope formula. And so from that we see the slope formula then, it's going to be y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And because this, you often hear this referred to as rise over run, right? The rise is how quickly I'm going in the y direction, the run is how quickly I'm going in the x direction. Okay, now another thing you have to remember is it doesn't really matter which one of your points is x1, y1 or x2, y2, but in your formula you can't interchange the positions. So you can't have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 1 minus x sub 2. You're going to get the wrong answer. Alright, so let me show you some examples and we'll just continue our discussion. Alright, so in example 1 here, I'm going to determine the slopes of the lines through the given points. And so this is basically just, can I plug this into the slope formula? Okay, so for part A, I have 1, negative 1, and 5, 3. So that's the difference in the y's. So here are my y coordinates. I'm going to say 3 minus a negative 1 over 5 minus 1. In doing that, let's see, 3 minus a negative 1 becomes 3 plus 1. That's 4. Divided by 5 minus 1 is 4 as well. So here, for this first one, I get a slope of 1. What that means is, for every 1 unit to the right I move, my line is going up 1 unit as well. Alright, so for part B, I have negative 3, 4, and 2, 1. So let's calculate the slope here by just plugging in the formula. So that's going to be the difference of the y's. This time I'm going to use my first coordinate, and that's okay. Doesn't matter, as long as I don't interchange my two coordinates. So here I can't say, for example, 2 minus negative 3. That's going to give me a wrong answer. So I'm going to say negative 3 minus 2. So this time I have 4 minus 1, which is 3, over negative 3 minus negative 2, or minus 2, sorry, is negative 5. So here I have negative 3/5. So the way I can interpret this then is if I go to the right 5 spaces, that means my line has gone down 3 spaces. Has gone down 3 spaces. Or if I go to the left 5 spaces, that'd be like negative 5 in the x direction, then my line's going up 3 spaces. Alright, so for part C here, let's try again. We have 0, 1, and 3, 1. Okay, so that's going to be the difference of the y's, which is 1 minus 1, over the difference of the x's, 3 minus 0. So I get 0 over 3, which is 0. Alright, now, if you think about it, this makes sense because notice my 2 points have the same y coordinate. That means that their equation, the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points, is the line y equals 1. And if you remember, y equals a constant is a horizontal line. So a horizontal line, doesn't it make sense that it's just straight across that it would have a slope of 0? That's something we should know. So for horizontal lines, we have a 0 slope. Now, in part D, I have 11, negative 1, and 11, 3. So let's try it again. Alright, so it's the difference of the y's. That's 3 minus a negative 1. So it's not going to be 0 this time. And I have 11 minus 11. So 3 minus negative 1 is 4 over 0. So is that 0? No, that is not 0. That's undefined. Okay, so what's going on here? What kind of line is undefined, has undefined slope? Well, think about it here. I have the same x coordinate. Same x coordinate, that means that this line has equation x equals a constant, x equals 11. What kind of line is x equals a constant? That's a vertical line, and it would make sense that if you're talking about how quickly you're going up and down, a line that goes straight up and down Well, that concept doesn't even apply. All right, so here, just like horizontal lines have slope 0, vertical lines have undefined slope. Okay, and it's important that you remember that horizontal lines have slope 0, vertical lines have slope undefined. Horizontal lines have equations y equals a constant, vertical lines have equations x equals a constant. Oh man, so this example we have determined the slope of the line, and they don't give us 2 points, they give us actually an equation of a line. Okay, so how do we do slope formula here? Well, I need to be able to generate 2 points, and so that's where we're going to use x and y intercepts. If you can't remember how to do that, I have a video explaining this concept, and just make sure you review it if you need to. Okay, so for A, we have 12x minus 4y equals negative 9 being my equation. So my x-intercept, you let y equal 0. So if I let y equal 0 here, I have 12x minus 4 times 0, which is 0, equals negative 9. So x equals negative 9/12. Since I can divide a 3 out of everything here, end up with negative 3/4 as my x-coordinate. So that means my first point in this line is negative 3/4, 0. Alright, now let's find the y-intercept. How do you do that? You let x be 0. Okay, so if x is 0 this time, I have negative 4y equals negative 9, which means that y equals 9/4. Okay, so there's my second point, 0, 9/4. So that means my slope is going to be the difference of the y's, so that's 9/4 minus 0, over the difference of the x's, which is 0 minus negative 3/4. Okay, so that means I have 9/4 over 3/4. Is that intimidating? It looks intimidating, but I remember that dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So this is actually 9/4 times 4/3. And now the 4's cancel, the 9 and the 3 simplify to give me a 3. And so my slope just ends up being 3 over 1, or simply 3. So there's the slope of this line. Alright, now for part B, I have x minus y over 3 plus 2 equals 4. This looks hard too, right? Because it's not even in the standard form. That's okay, it's not. Let's find our 2 points. So here my x-intercept. Let y equal 0. I end up with x over 3 equals 4 minus 2, which is 2. So when I multiply both sides by 3, I end up with x equals 6. And so there's my first coordinate, 6, 0. Now when I do my y-intercept, I let x equal 0 this time. And so notice here I get negative y over 3 equals 4 minus 2 is 2. So then I have negative y equals 6, and that means that y then equals 6. So there's my second coordinate, 0, negative 6. Alright, so now when I calculate my slope, I do the difference of the y's, and so here are the 2 coordinates I'm looking at, right? I have 0 minus a negative 6 over 6 minus 0, which ends up being 6 over 6, and so I end up with a slope of 1. Okay, so it looked tricky at first, but really once you find your x and y intercepts, it's not bad. Alright, so let's look at part C and part D, and we'll do these quickly, because what I notice here is I don't need x and y intercepts in this case. This equation, y equals 10 in part C, is a, what kind of line? A horizontal line. Y equals constant is horizontal. So if we remember from last time, that means the slope is 0, because it's horizontal. In part D, I have x equals a constant, x equals negative 1. What kind of line has x equals a constant as this equation? It's a vertical line. A vertical line has undefined slope. I hope this makes sense. The slope of a line is an important concept. It's a kind of a simple concept. The slope formula is pretty easy to use and it's very useful. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be glad to help. And thanks for watching.